Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Chicago-based jazz saxophonist and composer Anthony Bruno. He opened up about his new self-titled album coming out on April 14th, 2023. Life events inspired the best recorded music, and living through a pandemic, falling out of love, back in love, and out again all resulted in the making of this record. That was the trajectory and the mood. He has dedicated his life to music as a performer, educator, and creator. Born into a musical family, playing music has been a hallmark of his existence. He believes creativity and connection is the essence of music performance. He's a great interview. Enjoy.
I'm happy to talk to you about your self-titled album and just kind of, just delving into your world. So thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, I'm glad to.
So before we get into the new album, talk to me about surviving COVID. It was quite a time for all of us. How did you get through it, and how does it feel to have a new album coming out now?
Yeah, COVID was brutal. Everything that I loved was taken away from me. I couldn't play. There was no more gigs. There was no more even getting together to just do jam sessions because everyone was so worried about being in the same room. So, all of my human connection was taken away as far as making music. And then, I'm also an educator. So, all of the classes and the lessons went away. And, teaching brings me great joy. So to have that taken away was really heartbreaking. And then I went through a really tough breakup, right when COVID started. So, I had my love life taken away from me. And then, I remember vividly, Easter, just sitting alone because you couldn't even see your family during COVID. Everyone was trying to be as separated as possible. And so I was just a lonesome, living by myself cat, just figuring out what am I going to do with my life now that I can't do any of the things that I love to do. And that's when it hit me. I was like, man, I got to just write music. This is going to be I call it my catharsis, the thing that's going to keep me alive here and the thing that's going to allow me to process all of the kind of the negativity that's happening right now. I needed to find a way to bring joy into my life.
Right now, it's coming out in April, but right now with this new year, the world opening up, how does it feel to actually see this materialize and see that this is a reality with everything that's happening right now in the world?
Yeah, it's incredible, I got to say, because I have been a perpetual sideman where I've always played in other people's projects, played on other people's records, and I've been in that support role. And, in a way, COVID was a blessing because it forced me to have to do my own thing and focus on original music. And to see it come out is so special. It's almost like having a child, and you just know that it's yours, and it's what your heart and soul that you put into making this thing. And the other amazing thing that's come of it is, this band has really taken off now that some of the singles have come out, and I have a concept and a product to put out into the world. We've been booking a lot of really fantastic dates, including a couple steady dates. We're doing Thursdays at Andy's Jazz Club in March and April, which is just incredible. Andy's one of the top jazz clubs in Chicago, in the world, really. We've got a steady once a month at this club called Stage 773. We're playing at other places like California Clipper, Dorian's, Hey Nani. But it's just opened up doors that I hadn't experienced yet before by creating this music, putting it out, and having something that is, I guess a representation of me, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, etc.
So we've just kind of focused on the hyper now in your life and the joy of this album, but let's go way back to the beginning, where you were born and raised, and how these seeds of jazz got into your bloodstream to become who you are and as passionate about music as you are.
Yeah, I started being very into, I guess you would call it old school rock and roll, old school R&B. My dad played the saxophone, so he was in an oldies band. So I grew up listening to old school music from the 50s and 60s. And I just thought that was normal. I just thought that's what kids listen to. I didn't realize that there was pop radio in the 80s and 90s, etc. And it wasn't until I was like a teenager that I was like, oh, there's like other music besides the oldies, and I got really into ska and punk music, and I was always in ska and punk bands. It really wasn't until like end of high school, maybe like beginning of college, when I like really started to seriously get into jazz and realize its complexity and its depth and what its meaning is, and the interplay that comes with jazz that's a little different than other styles of music. And once I discovered that, I was like, oh, I think finding Sonny Rollins in my life was pretty huge, because I was like, oh, this is really special. This is a really amazing way to, express yourself and connect with others. And I mean, I don't know who many cats that do it better than Sonny on the saxophone.
So what was the very first live jazz show that you saw that blew you away?
Wow. Probably utter just wow would be, I would say, Sonny Rollins at the CSO. And I know that was pretty older in his years, but well before, now. Seeing him live, I think, really confirmed a lot of the things that I felt about improvisation and what it means to improvise, and the embodiment of like that urgency in creativity.
Of all of the facets of performing, there's levels of self-realization and that meets the dream world. What was the stage that you had the chance to play on where you almost had to pinch yourself and you're like, man, this is unreal?
Wow, that's a great question. Maybe not one singular event, but shortly after I turned 21, I started playing at the Green Mill, and I was working there steadily every Thursday with a 1930s swing band. And I was literally living my dream. I was like, I'm a kid playing at a jazz club, packed. And this is, I remember when I first started, this is when you could smoke in bars and there's like the smoke all over, and the cocktail waitresses bringing everything by. And I felt like I was in a movie, man. I was like, this is the actual thing. I'm like taking solos for a packed crowd of people at 1 a.m, and everybody's drinking and smoking and having a good time. I was like, this is exactly what I envisioned it would be like. And it was actually happening week after week. And once I experienced that, I think it helped me understand that this is a reality. This is tangible. This is something that can really be done. And I needed to, expand upon that.
So of all of the facets that go into being a professional musician, from recording to educating to, performing live, what is it that you love the best about this process that motivates you and wakes you up in the morning?
Oh, wow. For one, I'm absolutely never, let me rephrase this. I'm always surprised by it. It's kind of like when a baby sees like a dog or a cat for the first time, and they're just like, oh my God, what is this amazing creature? And they're just like stunned and floored and filled with excitement and joy. That's kind of how I feel when I hear music every day. I find something new and amazing and beautiful and wonderful in sound. And even if I've heard it 1,000 times, I'm at 1,001 time, I'll hear a little something where I go, oh man, that is so cool. And I think it's just the joy of listening that makes it so special. And that has to do with the way you connect with an audience. That has to do with the way you teach students, what the importance is, why we do this, how we connect to sound and how we connect to making music. And I think it's part of a bigger concept of, really feeling the joy of music.
So let's say you come to Kansas City and you're going to present this album to an audience, and you have to kind of come up and be the PR person as well. And you have to come up with a way of enticing people that live here to come see you perform this. A, what would you say? And B, what would a live show from you on this album be like? Well,
the live shows are pretty rocking. the record, I'm not going to say it's tame, but sometimes you make records and you want it to be clean and presentable, etc. The live shows, I kind of embody it after the way Sonny would do things. He talks about how in the studio it's kind of clean, but then on the live shows they take it out. When you come to see a live show, it's going to be like pure energy, like raw emotion and improvisation over forms and grooves and styles that you're not accustomed to. It's not the typical swang-lang-a-lang. This is music that is based off of like everything from R&B gospel to pop punk music. So it's music that'll make you move. It's music that'll make you groove, music that'll make you feel good, but it still harnesses that raw emotion and energy from the concept of jazz improvisation. And all the musicians that I would bring from Chicago to Kansas City, we have that depth of the knowledge of the history of creating and improvising in the jazz style. And that's what we bring to the table. And I think it's really I would bring something that's on the forefront of jazz, something that is very en vogue and very contemporary, and it would be refreshing to the ear.
So you saw Sonny Rollins live, but let's kind of up the ante a little bit here. Let's say we get off the phone, a Jazz DeLorean pulls up in front of your house, and you can go see any show in the history of jazz. Where are you going?
Oh, my God. That's a total pull between probably seeing Train. Any time I'm thinking, when would I want to see Train? Probably Train with Miles or Brecker in like the 80s or the 90s. That's a tough one because I'm obsessed with both of those concepts. I think Train is otherworldly in a way that like connects with the vibrations and the frequencies of our planet and of our other realm. And then when I hear Brecker, I just hear like almost like something beyond human when he plays. And those are two things that I would love to have witnessed in person, the way that they make sound out of the saxophone be beyond human.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Wow. That's a tough one. I mean, I'm sensitive. I'm emotional. I try to, have a tough, guarded persona because I'm sensitive and emotional. When I'm playing music, I get to let that go because I'm in a safe space and I can be sensitive and be emotional. I've learned as I've gotten older how to somewhat keep my emotions and my sensitivity at a balance. But I'm also a very gregarious person. I'm a fun-loving person. I like to go out and have fun and talk to people and be joyful throughout life. It's hard to be grumpy. It's better to skip throughout life and be goofy and be silly and have fun with everything. But at the same time, when it comes to music, I'm as serious as a heart attack. Everything that I do has intention.
So if anyone out there, that their album comes out this spring, if anyone wants to pick up the album, learn more about live shows, anything related to your world, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, they can find all of the music on any streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. My website is anthonybrunomusic.com, and you could also find me on Instagram at Anthony Bruno Music.
Perfect. Anthony, man, this has been great. Thank you for opening up. Thanks for taking a minute out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it as well.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Anthony for his time, energy, and cool. Find archived Neon Jazz interviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or subscribe to Neon Jazz via YouTube. All things Neon Jazz, all the time. neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.